All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Word on the Street, powered by Lean Solutions Group. I'm Trey Griggs, VP of Sales at Lean, and joined today by Tyler Gilpin. We got others going to be dropping in soon. Tyler, what's up, brother?
Not a whole lot. Just trying to get those last Friday loads covered.
Yeah, exactly. We just talked about that right before we went live about capacity being tight, how it's impacting the price. It's impacting when you can pick it up, when it can go. So it's pretty wild out there, man.
Yeah, it's sad to
Very
watch,
much.
customers' expectations of people go down. It's interesting, it's not even an anger issue anymore. If they have something date change, they're just like, man, this is gonna suck,
Yeah.
but here we are.
Yeah, exactly. What's that? There's a saying that says if you want it fast and with high quality, you can't have it cheap. Like cheap was a price, quality, and speed. Like you don't have 2 out of 3, something like that.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, if somebody's offering you all three, they're lying to you.
It seems like you're only getting one now.
Yeah, if you're
I
lucky.
I don't even know if you're gonna get 2 out of those 3, but you might only get 1 out of those 3 these days, which is just pretty wild.
Well, we always talk, the Amazon effect. Remember all that talk where everybody's expectation was going to be through the roof, and now the Amazon can't even get me anything. So
I know. I mean, I'm looking for stuff on Amazon, and it's taken a week. It's taken 10 days. Like I ordered a book just the other day on Prime, and it took 5 days, which I know it's not long, but when you're expecting it 1 or 2, that is a pretty big difference, especially when you think about, I'll just go and order on Amazon and get it real quick. Like I'm actually now looking. I used to just do that, and now I'm looking locally. Like, is there a store close by that I can go pick this up? Yeah, and I can't remember the last time that I really had that approach to buying something. It's almost always been, just buy it on Amazon and go get it.
I don't quote me on this, but I believe it was Walmart is doing kind of a pilot project where they're making one of their DCs open to like me and you, and so they're making us the final mile. So you can go to the DC and pick up that book. And then that way, they don't have to pay a driver or a driverless vehicle to get it to you.
Right. And because the expectations have changed, like you said, like I'm not expecting it to get here in 1 or 2 days. So I might drive to Walmart to pick that up while I'm out, where before I wouldn't even consider that. So, Hey, real quick, Megan, if you can hear us, I'm trying to make you a panelist, but you got to accept. So hopefully you'll accept and join. So awesome. What's up, Kyle? How are you, my friend? What's up?
Doing good, Trey. How about yourself?
In the Freight Plus studio. I love actually, I don't think I actually recognized this before, but you made a plus sign out of the board in the back. Yeah, I know. Very, very clever, my friend.
Plus sign was planned. I lucked out with the F. I didn't know I was going to make the F until I was in the middle of setting up the plus sign.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I don't even think I saw that wall because I just peeked my head. When I was there, I just poked my head in, poked my head. So I didn't see the F. I only saw the plus, which is pretty cool. So awesome, man. Megan, what's up, girl? How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
It's been a while since we've seen you.
There you go. I'm on video.
There you are. Welcome. Good to see you.
It's been a while.
Fellow St. Louian.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Tell everybody about your new gig. I know you told me about it, but tell everybody else what you're doing.
Yeah. So I was in the transportation industry for about 1.5 years, and then I left to join a software solutions and services company called Software One. So we help companies accelerate their digital transformation. How's that for buzzwords?
Kind of a tech consultant, if you will, something like that, basically helping them find the right technology and implement it.
Yes, exactly.
Probably never been more needed than now, especially in transportation. I'm sure that would be a great client for you guys, being that you're agnostic now. You can go to any industry. That's a huge
exactly.
Need, so. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good. Well, I'm glad that's going well. And good to have you back on the show. Where's that? Are you guys in Chesterfield, or where's that located?
So our North American headquarters are in Wisconsin, and our global headquarters are in Switzerland.
Okay, cool. So you're just working remote then from here?
I am. Yep.
Nice. Nice to be home a little bit more.
Yeah. It's great for the work-life balance.
Yeah, that's huge. Speaking of that, I've been in a couple of threads with a bunch of CEOs. And the general thought is they're not coming back to the office. There's obviously some businesses that do have to come back to the office, but I mean, they're like, I had one say, we will never have an office again, a central office. And I was, I think it depends on your business, depends on what you're doing, but that's pretty drastic for somebody to say, we'll never go back,
What kind of company?
I think a lot of people are saying that like it's forever changed. And most people I talk to are saying that there's always going to be more flexibility now that we've proven that we can work remotely.
Yeah.
But they're missing out on some of the like ad hoc collaboration that happens just in the hallways. You know, you miss that conversation and
Yeah,
being in.
absolutely. And Kyle, you asked what industry was it? It was I mean it was a white collar profession. I think it was in media, possibly something like that.
Oh yeah, those guys don't need to go
Yeah,
back. You do all the stuff right.
like Morning Brew, for example, they're probably not going to have an office anymore because they're just
No.
writing news articles and stuff like that.
But I feel like you're
So-
gonna like you're forgetting like the entry level employees that like starting their first career job. Like you learn from watching more seasoned people. Like
Right.
the whole like, oh, we're only working from home. But then you're like, okay, well, who's saying that? It's like, oh, it's a graphic designer. You're like, yeah, no duh, you can only work from home. But like when you're like so many people, like you need to be able to see people. You need to learn. You
Yeah.
need to see what someone's doing.
I think
And, like,
what people are going to do is they're going to fly people in, put them up in a hotel, and give them an extended training session, so that they get some of that. But then they'll send them back home and not have to have as much office space. Is what I think is going to happen. Or they'll send them to the city where the person they need to work is, and they might go work with them at their home or go to Starbucks or do something like that. Now, I think they'll come up with some creative ways to do that. But you're absolutely right, Kyle. You miss out a lot if you don't have that. And one thing that I've been doing that's been pretty helpful, it's kind of weird, but like, you know, my sales admin who I work with, you know, she's my right hand and we do a ton of stuff together with the CRM and things like that. We'll literally sit on a Zoom call for an hour and we have nothing planned. We're just working. And then, you know, I'll be working, she'll be working. And then I'll say, hey, we need to do this workflow real quick. Can you do that? Let's check that real quick. And it's kind of like we're in an office together, but definitely not, but it's kind of like that. So we get a little bit of that collaboration and just real quick, I've got a question, let's figure it out. I mean, that's kind of the only way you can do it, I think, in this kind of modern remote work environment that we're creating. So
So
Yeah,
if
learning.
I may, just to chime in on this, because Software One, we do have like a physical office presence throughout the US, but for the most part, everyone's remote. I mean, and everyone's remote right now, of course, because of COVID. But what you described is exactly what Software One has done in the past and what we're doing now. In fact, I'm in this training session that's supposed to be in person, but we're doing it remote. So it's 2 weeks long. It's from 10 until 3 every day to accommodate the time zones across the US. But and I'm on lunch right now, but yeah, that's what we're doing right now. And then to your point, Trey, like the office hours or whatever, every morning I have a 30-minute standing call with the team and it's just kind of open. You can sit on mute, you can ask questions, you have your inside rep and kind of do what you need to do, but it's optional and
just getting everybody in.
Yeah, getting everyone in for that like morning brief. Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling in this thread that I was looking at, I was saying that some of these CEOs or some of these, you know, managers who are perfecting this really need to like write a book. I mean, this is the kind of thing that people are going to really need to have skills for and know what the best practices are. So I could see some books coming out in the next year or two on, you know, best practices on managing your team remotely, because I think a lot of companies are going to fall into it's like, how do we get people in the same room? How do we train? How do we have these, you know, ad hoc collaboration times? How do we do that in this environment? There's probably going to be some hopefully good material coming out about that, but everybody's kind of learning right now and just figuring out like, well, I'm doing this. Oh, that's a great, like you just mentioned that's a great idea. I should probably think about something like that where we should get everybody together just to be together. Even if we don't do a lick of work together, it's like we're in the office and we're just hanging out a little bit. So pretty fascinating. Okay. What's up, Juan? How you doing, my friend?
Hey, how you doing, man? How's the rest of your trip?
Listen, I have to say something. We forgot to take a picture. I took a picture of my food and your belly was in the picture and that's it. That's all I got was your belly at breakfast. Because I took a picture of my food and not my friend. How awful am I? I'm a terrible person.
Yeah,
I'm a horrible
like
person.
in and out.
I could have warned you, Juan. I picked him up from the
morning
train.
breakfast. That was it.
Yeah. Kyle picked me up from the train station. I hung out in his office all day. Not one picture, but I did get a picture with the other guest that was in the office that day.
Yeah. How many followers you got on LinkedIn? That's who Trey will take photos with.
Oh, it's terrible. Oh, I'm a horrible person. It's terrible. All right, moving on. Raquel, I did get a picture with you. So we actually got one, and John. So that was pretty cool. So, you know, I don't know how that worked out. And then Nick, we still haven't gotten together. My goodness, how you doing, buddy?
It's not bad. We'll get there someday, right? You guys know, like the only thing I keep on seeing is like the Delta variant, like over there.
I mean, it's kind of the news. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. We've been through it, so we've been there, done that. So
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting too because it's playing itself out differently in different places, and
yeah,
so it's pretty interesting. So Raquel, I didn't get a chance to chat. What's up? You're home. You're not out exploring the world.
I know. I'm home for now. Next month I'll be on the road, but
Where are you
you know,
going?
Texas. We are
Nice.
fingers crossed. We're gonna get an RV here next week, and be on the road.
Nice.
So yeah,
That's the
we're
way to do it right there.
expanding with Lean. We have a new employee starting next week, so
Awesome.
that's
Keep it
keeping
up.
me nice and busy.
I know, that's awesome. Well, it's cool because like this is a really cool case study, which I'll just do a really kind of shameless plug for Lean, but you're growing your business and you're probably doing less work.
Trying to, yeah.
I mean, it's not so bad. It's not a bad gig. So,
Yep.
something to consider for everybody who's listening. But anyways, enough of that shameless plug. So Nick, let's talk about what's happening across the pond, the British Women's Open. You got to be there for a little bit of that, or you just got to watch it on TV?
No, well, it's literally 5 minutes from my house. So
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I've been able to see a couple of things, but it was because the weather was so nice. It was very busy. But like, yeah, I've seen a bit, and most of the good shots. To be honest, like the atmosphere is better when you're there, but if you want to see properly how they play, like on TV, is better. Yeah.
And Anna Nordqvist won. I think she's a Swede. She's from Sweden, I believe.
Yeah, she played well.
Yeah, it's pretty good. 12 under on the tournament. That's cool. So I'm telling you, man, next year or the year after that, we got to make this like a regular thing for us golfers. We got to come over and watch this thing and play some Scottish golf. Can't wait to do that. That's going to be
St. Andrews next year. So
yes, I know. I want to go so bad. All right, got to work that out. Okay. All right. So let's transition. We got a couple things to chat about today. We got a few things in the news, some things that are going down. So let me pull a few things up here and we will chat about it. So for most of you might be aware of this, some of you maybe not because it's too early in your life, but for most of you went back to school this week here in Missouri. Some others, I've learned this, some schools in rural areas don't start till after Labor Day because of the harvest, I believe. So that's interesting. My daughter had a friend that moved to middle Indiana and they don't start until like middle September for that very reason. So that was kind of interesting. And then of course the West Coast doesn't start till next year, but I want to chat a little bit about school supplies and how, the pandemic and the supply chain is impacting going back to school. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll. We're listening to some rock music today. Let me make sure that you guys can actually participate, checking it beforehand. So, I'm getting better at this. So go ahead and take that poll. We're listening to a little Weezer actually right now. So enjoy and take a poll. I wonder what the over-under should be today on Chris Jolly joining us and when it'll happen.
You should have like doesn't apply segment.
I did on a couple. I'm sorry. I did on a couple, but not all of them. It's amateur hour here, Juan. Just go with it. We'll see if he's going to roll in. We'll check on that. I'm looking at the panelist participants right now, so I'm ready to go if he jumps in, but see what happens on that. I'm thinking he'll be here at 12:40. That's what I'm going to say. So
hey, are you going to be in Los Angeles?
What about Los Angeles?
You guys going to Los Angeles in a couple of weeks?
I'm not.
See.
What's going on in Los Angeles?
Long Beach, IANA Expo.
Oh, I don't think we're hitting that one this year. We've hit that one in the past. We're not hitting that this year. We're kind of reevaluating some of our trade show spends. We're going to McLeod User Conference coming up. We're going to Homeworld Delivery trade show in Philly this next week. We're going to TIA Extend, 3PL Extend. We're going.
Did they cancel that one?
They haven't canceled yet. It's hybrid.
They canceled DatCon, or were you going to that one?
No. DatCon is more of a.
We weren't either.
DatCon's more of a private user conference. I don't think they actually allow a lot of vendors to show up. So maybe they have, but I don't know if they have or not.
And again, I have not done the logistics for Chattanooga yet. Just keep pushing it.
Yeah. No worries on that. All right, close the results. Let's go ahead and see what's going on. So for those of you who, I guess the last one counts for you, Juan. If you don't don't buy school supplies. Anyways, were any school supplies out of stock in your area? 2 of you say yes, and 4 of you didn't buy. So everybody who had to buy, they were out. We felt the same thing. Like we've had to go to multiple stores to try to find some supplies for school this year. I don't think we've ever had to do that. Like, I mean, we typically go to Walmart or something like that, but I don't think we've ever had to go to multiple stores to try to find what we need, which is a little bit shocking because it's something is coming. Everybody knows coming. They can plan for it. It's not a surprise event, and yet we're really behind a lot of things. There's going to be a lot of markers that show up in November, and they're not going to be able to sell them because kids have already started school. So that's what's going to happen on that. Number 2, Raquel,
I went school shopping with my my niece last weekend, and we couldn't find shoes. We went to like 4 different stores, and the selection was extremely minimal for kids' shoes. Yeah,
wow.
I didn't think about supplies, but yeah.
Right, they do actually buy clothes, they buy shoes, like back to school stuff, which I didn't even think about. That's interesting. I mean, I never can find shoes because my size is way too common. Sorry, Megan.
It's always, I feel like the selection is always limited for boy shoes. It's ridiculous. So like the fact that you had a hard time finding girl shoes, that really says something.
Yeah. There was like only like 4 or 5 options and nothing that was her size. So we're like, okay.
Everybody's going to school this year with the same stuff on. Everybody, nobody gets anything different.
Right.
They're all going to walk in with the same ruse. And it's all they had. They had to wear it. It's rough. No, I didn't think about clothes, but I'm sure that probably would be an issue as well. Greg Roberts, what's up, brother?
Hey, not much. Interesting part of the conversation.
We're gonna pause on the poll real quick. So Greg sent me something that we're gonna see who wants to participate at some point, I think. So what was the name of that event that you sent? Was that the Tough Mudder?
It is the Tough Mudder.
The Tough Mudder. 10 miles, 25 obstacle courses. It seems like a lot, but you know what? This could be something fun that we could do. So we might be sending this out to the crew to see who wants to gather a little group or a team and do something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. Maybe we could raise some money for something.
When and where?
That's a great question. So they're all over. So we'd have to pick a town and pick a date. Because they're all over. I mean, there's probably 50 of them around the country.
Yeah,
that happen.
They're worldwide, but the ones in the US.
Now,
the one I sent to Trey was end of April.
Wright City. Yeah,
it was in Wright City,
St. Louis, which is right in the middle of the country. It's perfect. You guys can come to St. Louis. You can see, what's going on at the Lou. We'll take you to, the Little Italy place on the hill and some of the great restaurants there, and show you around town. So, and in April, we might even be able to catch a baseball game, Cardinals game. So that might be the way we have to go, but we'll throw it out there and see who wants to join. 10 miles though, it's a lot. But you don't have to run it. You don't have to run it straight though. That's the nice part. You're doing obstacles in between, which to me really helps because I can run a little bit and then do an obstacle. I think that's more enjoyable than just straight running. I can't.
Surprisingly more manageable. Like you hear 10 miles and then you're adding something on top of that, but with the obstacles and everything,
it distracts you. Right.
It breaks it up too.
It's kind of fun. Yeah.
You don't run it straight, after the obstacle if you want. I mean, hell, at any point in the race, if you wanted to start walking, but
just walk.
After the obstacle, you have those built-in brakes.
Yeah. I prefer that way over the running. The running to me is, especially on like, I've done 2 yes, it does. I've ran 2 half marathons. And, when you practice for half marathon, you can run on a track, you can run on a sidewalk. Those things are typically flat. But then you get to the race and you're running on a road that is arced, for run. And so if you're running on a slight arc for a while, it really messes with your IT bands and your knees because you're just not used to it. So I'm literally trying to run in the middle of the road the whole race. And, I'm not a fan of that. I'd much rather do something like this where it's more like these types of courses are more trail courses or on the grass. They're rarely on concrete. I just think they're just overall better. And obviously breaking it up and getting distracted would be helpful for somebody like me. So I'm not just constantly thinking, I'm still running. I've got 10 miles to go. I've got 8 miles to go. So anyways, we're going to throw it out there. Maybe we'll find a charity we can raise some money for. That could be a lot of fun. So let's just plan on April. That gives us plenty of time to get through the, holidays, eat what we want, and then start working out. So awesome. Okay. Question 2. Is your life better now that kids are back in school? So I guess if you have kids, this would be a ones, but there is a no kids in school option. So for 2 of you, not really. That's interesting. So why not really? Greg, is it better?
No, I would say abundantly better.
Abundantly better.
I missed the opportunity.
Significantly better. Life has gotten significantly better. How about not really? Who said that?
It was not really. Nothing really changed on our end. I mean,
How old are your kids?
6.
I don't have kids, so it's like
Yeah. Tyler, are yours in school every day, or are they home, or what's the
School every day. South Dakota does lawless. We're lawless out here. You can
South
do whatever you
Dakota
want.
is really kind of a maverick. That is the truth. Yeah. You guys do whatever you want. You got the Sturgis rally, you got, nobody cares about that.
Anything. Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun though.
When we did our RV
Sounds
trip
like
last
fun.
year, we went up to Iowa and South Dakota, and then we went north, up to Washington. And I can tell you that being in Washington and Oregon versus South Dakota is like two different planets. I mean, it is like, significantly different in that regard. So, but nothing really changed. Yeah, we homeschool. So we had the first day of school. This year, though, we're doing something a little different. We actually got our girls into a co-op on Thursdays. So my wife is loving that because one day a week, she doesn't have any kids here. So she can, just do whatever she wants. She can relax. She can get the laundry done. She can go and get coffee at Starbucks by herself without the kids asking for sugary stuff. Like she's very excited about that. So
I bet she loves
nice little
that.
switch. Does. Yeah. And it's also become a little bit of our date time. Believe it or not, we go play 9 holes or go to the driving range.
That's awesome.
So I've just kind of blocked off some time in my calendar to say, this is important. She's available. I'm available. Let's go do it. And I know I work plenty at night and early in the morning, so it's not a big deal. So it's kind of nice that we can just go. And like yesterday, we didn't go, but I'm sure next week or whenever we come back, we will. So we'll have some extra time to do some stuff like that, which will be fun. So it's good. So we're excited. We would say the life is not much different, but it's a little bit better than it was a week ago. So it's a nice change. All right, question 3. Are schools in person in your area? All of you said yes. So nobody's really doing the remote thing right now, which is great. I think it's good for kids to be in school and to be, around, especially for development, things like that. Next question. This one's really fascinating. Are kids required to wear masks in school in your area? Half yes, or 2 yes, 2 no, and 2 of you don't have any idea. This is fascinating because I thought about this when just this whole thing is, there's a lot of confusion around it and what's going on. But here's what's really fascinating is, especially for younger kids, for preschool age kids, for kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, they're learning about life through facial expressions. They're learning how to talk. A lot of them are doing language and they're having to learn how to speak through a mask and all those kind of things. It's really fascinating. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on if this is, if the risk is worth not masking, or if the risk of not learning those types of things is worth masking. What are your thoughts on all this, especially with little kids in terms of masking in school?
Well, I can speak to this a little bit. My 2-year-old is in speech therapy and he does it twice a week. One day is virtual and one day is in person. And I opted for the virtual because when he's in person, he has to wear a mask, and so does the speech. Well, he doesn't have to wear a mask, but the speech therapist does. So how is he supposed to learn how to speak if he can't see?
Right.
How
if they're trying to talk about where your tongue goes for a certain sound, and
right. So for him, I mean, it's not worth it in my opinion. But and then I don't locally here in St. Louis area, there was a bus driver that was forced to resign because she told the students on the bus that they could take their mask off because it's been really, really hot here, like excessive heat warnings, like 100
high 90s
degrees.
Feels like 110. Yep.
Yeah, and so she was worried about them having heat exhaustion, and she was forced to resign because of that, because she said that they could take their mask off. But I don't know. I think it's still a unique situation for everybody, and it's hard to apply a rule across the board.
Is it not? Is it the same over there? Like what they do here is so you need to wear it when they go from class to class, but when they're actually sitting in class, there's no masks allowed. Like you don't need to wear a mask, and that's the same. Like kindergarten here is like that's fine. There's no masks. The teachers are like they're wearing masks as well when kids are being dropped off and picked up. But when they're in class, they just need to do their test, a PCR test, like I don't know how many times a week. So
so they're incorporating testing. See, that's another thing too, is that there are a lot of school districts that did not want to take on the liability of testing, of having to test. They didn't want to have to deal with it. They don't want to have to employ somebody to test. They don't want to get something wrong and have somebody with either a false positive or a false negative and things.
What's the minimum age of vaccination over in the US right now?
12.
So it's 12 as well, yeah. So they lowered it.
It's still 12. I don't think that they've gone below 12 yet.
No, it's the same. But it used to be 16. They lowered it to 12. 2 weeks.
Well, and here's something interesting too. And I just know this just from a social perspective. life is different when you can't see someone's face, their mouth. Like there's something about the mouth that conveys so much emotion and just all of that. Like it's hard to really get feedback from somebody when you're only looking with their eyes. I've found, like when I lead worship at church and people had to wear masks, 8 months ago, it was weird because you're looking out at these people and part of worship is feedback. Like you want to interact with, this is a group of people you're worshiping together. You want to get some feedback. And it was just like, just looking at these eyes, it was like a dog at the edge of the bed looking at you, like you have no idea kind of what's going on. And so I can only imagine with kids that's going to have an impact on their development, on their ability to, understand and perceive situations and mood and things like that. It's such an issue here that the private school that we have at our church, Living Word Academy, their enrollment is up 3-fold this year. And they have a waiting list for the first time. And they're considering creating a high school next year because they have a bunch of middle schoolers that are there that they're hoping that would potentially stay. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I'm sure a lot of private schools are experiencing the same thing where enrollment's up, waiting lists are there because some parents are like, you know what, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with the school system on something like this. And so it's pretty interesting where that's all headed.
We're on a wait list for kindergarten.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Oh, go ahead. I'm going to be quiet.
I was just going to say my friend, she has COVID and her 2 sons were supposed to start school this week. And they said that until they test negative, they can't go back to school. Well, because they're scheduled to go in-person school, they can't do online school in the meantime. So they're just going to start school late, which I think is really absurd because they have an online school available to public schools, but not if you opted for going in person.
Like
it's just like they don't have a backup plan. Yeah. It's pretty
crazy. Megan, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say that we're on a wait list for kindergarten for next year, which is crazy to me. Yeah,
it is crazy. Wow. I think you should start a kindergarten.
That's the same here. Yeah.
I think you should start a kindergarten school or something. My goodness.
But and the thing that I don't understand, and I've got 2 kids, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So I'm not there yet with the schools yet and all, but the thing I don't understand is if a company can have virtual meetings and have people in person like we used to, why can't schools do that? Yeah, maybe I'm opening up the can of worms here, but I just
and they certainly acquired the technology last year. So they should have the technology at least in place to be able to do something like that. But I know this, so my wife teaches at Missouri Baptist, one of the colleges here. And she has an online class and she has an in-person class, and it's twice as much work. You would think it'd be the same thing. You just put it online, but you have to teach differently online than you do in person. Mm-hmm. And so she actually has to do kind of 2 classes, even though it's the same curriculum, same stuff. So I can understand that a little bit, but still you'd think they'd be able to make some sort of, option available in that situation where the kids cannot come to school. It's not their fault. And now they're just going to have to start late and there's nothing they can do about it except maybe send some homework home.
And if even at a minimum, if they could just listen in, I mean, that's better than nothing.
Yeah, that's how ours is set up.
It's also pretty
Go ahead, Tyler. You were saying?
Oh, so Sioux Falls, the protocol that we've got in our school district. So there's no mask mandate whatsoever until the population of the school reaches 2% or better positive test. And at that point, we go to mask mandates. And then at 5%.
Wow, they actually have criteria and a plan?
Right.
You guys aren't as maverick as I thought. Wait a minute. What's going on in South Dakota? You guys have a plan?
Everyone that tests positive for COVID, every single day, all the kids are sent home with an iPad. And so if you end up with a positive test, you do exactly, Megan, what you had just said is you remote in that day or that week, whatever, those 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'm like in South Dakota more and more.
We're backward. There's a lot of backward stuff, but at least their school district knows what they're doing.
My husband wants to move there.
Yeah. Well, I can say this
from that where I think 3rd grade and up, you get a Chromebook, 2nd grade down to, I don't know if preschoolers do. I know kindergartens get their own little tablet. And it's one of those things where last year it was a little bit different. This year they're 100% in person, but if you need to, you can listen in. Last year, if you were in person and you had a reason to, you could shift to remote for like the 2 weeks. But if you signed up to be remote, it was, you were not getting back into the school because it is a private school and there's so many people who were trying to get in. Like you said, there was a waiting list, and luckily we had been there previously with our older sons, so they kind of, you get to, legacy, you get to come in, I guess. But it was one of those things where the enrollment went way up. They didn't have enough teachers. They ended up having to let the gym teacher go, and they were trying to see if they could get him to do something else because they needed people.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. It's creating a lot of kind of situations that are pretty unique and interesting. And I wonder what it means moving forward too, when everything hopefully comes back to normal. What options are going to be? It's almost like the work from home situation. Is this going to become more normal, or are things eventually going to become back to what we're used to? I don't know. It'll be really
like snow days. Are those going to go by the wayside?
Yeah. Here's what I can't imagine giving a Chromebook to a third grader and trusting that they're going to handle that properly. I mean, have you guys seen an elementary kid's Trapper Keeper back in the day? Do you remember those things? I mean, that binder that just got ripped to shreds, and now we're going to send them home with a Chromebook. Like, it's crazy to think about what we're doing now.
You've seen an 8-year-old's iPad? It's disgusting.
It's got dings everywhere. There's mayonnaise on the side. I mean, it's awful.
The amount of times an 8-year-old showed me a video, like one of my friend's kids is like, look at this game. I'm like, I can't see. How are you seeing the screen?
The screen is just waxed over. I'd hate to be the IT guys that have to like check those in at the end of the year, and try to clean those up. They're just throwing them out. Like, just buy another one. I'm not going to clean this. We'll just get a whole new one.
Real quick on the topic of snow days, Megan, you asked. So last year it was 100% like it snowed and we had to keep kids home, and they did the e-learning, and there was a toll there. And then I think it was like the second or third time the principal ended up sending something out to the parents and said, hey, the kids have been through a lot, everything, we're having a good old fashioned snow day. And so it was something that I think they initially said, well,
we're having a good old fashioned snow day.
It was fantastic. And it really was what the kids needed. Right. And because
that's just hilarious though to talk about so much.
Well, but they were going through so much, and the initial knee-jerk reaction was, well, we have the ability to do this remotely. Let's just everybody keep learning. And the reality is the kids, it was taxing on them. So to get them that break was important. So I think we'll see still snow days, still, things like that.
Well, and sometimes it's just good to have a day off and go sledding. I mean, let's just be kids for a minute. Sometimes that's just good. I mean, how many times do you just want to take a day off and go do your favorite thing during work? It's just good to get away and not think and have fun. Like sometimes we just need that kind of stuff. So I do hope that they will keep that in play. Because it is.
And there's other places to learn than school too. Like Mark Twain said, don't let school get in the way of your education. Like you can learn outside of school.
Absolutely. I love that. That's one reason why we homeschool. I'm actually hoping that the kids will get their work done. And when they're old enough, like 14, 15, 16, which is coming up, they'll get a chance to go do some other stuff and, go to a business and kind of work there and see how it works. Or one of my daughters wants to be a veterinarian. How cool would it be for her to get an internship at a local vet, large animal vet, where she can learn how they're doing things with horses and cows and stuff like that. So I agree with you completely like that. The school system is, it's a conveyor belt. It's a method to get a lot of people through a system to teach basic things. That's what it's for. It's not designed to provide some of those extra opportunities like you're talking about. So, anyways, so we got an update on Chris Jolly. He says he's at a wedding. So my question is he speaking at the wedding? Like, is he a guest speaker, or is he? I mean, is he a best man? He can't be a best man. That's not possible.
Chris Jolly say
Friday?
He said he's at a wedding. I don't know.
He's doing a coffee with the freight coach over at the wedding. That would be brilliant.
It's 1 o'clock on a Friday.
Maybe he's heading. Maybe he's heading to a wedding. Maybe he's I don't know.
You guys don't do like all-day weddings starting at like
some
10?
people are having Friday weddings now, so he could be in transit.
Yeah, but
we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But my question is he a guest speaker, or what's his role? Like, what's he doing? He's not the groom. He's not the best man. He's podcasting. He's live tweeting it. I mean, what's going on? What does he do?
He's definitely a panelist.
Sure. We'll find out next week for sure, but we'll go by that. All right. So Juan, you brought up the flu. That's a great question. So I was
about to ask about that. I was like,
somebody looked this up. I think the number is that annually we typically have in the United States, like it's either 32 million or 32,000. I want to say it's million, but I can't remember. Maybe it's I don't know. It's a big difference, but 32 is the number I saw. Anyways, we went from, I think, 32 million. I'm going to use that until somebody corrects me. We went from 32 million flu infections in 2019, okay, to 2,300 last year. Like, I can't even believe that. Like, that doesn't sound right at all.
I was about to ask the group if anyone after COVID, if anyone else had COVID and after getting COVID got a regular flu.
Yeah, and think about this.
It's me.
I gotta.
It's me.
I gotta say this. Listen,
I got it.
They said the reason we didn't have flus was because everybody was masked up, and now they're showing that you can pass it even while wearing a mask.
Same thing, but
and we're down to 2,300.
What I found curious.
So it'll be interesting this year to see where it goes to.
I've had a lot of flus in my life, and they're usually very annoying. That's it, just runners and all that. But the 2 times I got flu, it was semi-COVID level. Like, I got tested and everything came out negative. Got tested twice during and right after. So it was negative.
With respiratory problems and all that. Yeah.
But the flu bulldozed me for an entire week. Like,
which it typically does to a lot of people. That's pretty common, I
mean, I was like, I never used to get that sick, like to that degree for a flu. Now, when I was a teacher, by the way, I was a teacher early on in my life, English teacher here in Columbia.
What'd you teach? English? No, you were not an English teacher.
That didn't work out. But during that time working, I did in my internship in the school I went to high school to, right? So I ended up being an English teacher in the school I went to school at. And one of the most sickest times of my life was those 2 years of internship that I did there, because I'd have a flu every other 15.
You're around students. They're just bringing stuff in all the time.
I was teaching 1st grade to 5th grade, and there's always a kid with flu.
And those kids don't wash their hands. They're eating dirt and all other kinds of stuff.
So how about
in their mouth?
What's going to be the flu paranoia after the COVID pandemic is done? Like, what's
and what are the numbers going to be? Like, if it goes 32 million, 2,300, 15 million, like, you're gonna be like, wait a minute, like, what, I don't know.
We've had a big scandal here in relation to the death toll, which was completely wrong that they came out with, because anyone who had COVID,
right,
even if they passed away like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 4 months after, most of them were all
in a car accident.
But they had COVID 3 weeks ago. They were put down as a COVID death.
That's right.
And it was like, when they came up, it's like, I'm really sorry, guys, we messed up. It was like a third of what the actual figure was, or something ridiculous. So I'm like, all of a sudden there was no more deaths of other illnesses and, like lung cancer and all that kind of stuff. All of that dropped to like near zero, and it was all COVID. So,
yeah. I think the big takeaway from all this is I think that the medical community and the CDC have lost a lot of credibility. That's what I think is going to be the big takeaway from this.
Nick, we had a case.
Even if they do say something is true, it's going to be hard to believe, because
we had a case. We had a case where Postmates here are called Rapis, and they use motorcycles instead of cars. And a Rapi got hit by an 18-wheeler on the highway, and he died of COVID. I'm not sure how medically that works, but if you get hit by an 18-wheeler on a motorcycle, everything else is irrelevant.
I don't know.
Yeah. Nick, it's interesting. Especially just given because you're more in the national healthcare, right? Isn't that Ireland?
Yeah.
So because here, a lot of insurance, that was the big thing we were hearing was like, hey, insurance-wise, they'll cover you faster. They'll pay it. You get paid more if you get admitted with COVID, which was something a lot of the hospitals kind of were dealing with. It's interesting that you guys were dealing with that type of stuff too.
It's to be honest, don't get me talking about the National Health Service. It's been on the brink, but no.
10K a pop here in Colombia. 10K a pop.
One thing, and I don't agree. So it's everybody's like, yeah, you've got a free health service. No, we don't. You pay it somewhere, right? It's not.
Nothing's free.
The biggest thing that we've seen here is their response and everything else. They're originally, when I used to live in Holland, it was semi-subsidized by the government. So if you, for example, you get the basics that get paid for by the government or subsidized, but then you can increase. So the good thing about that was okay, if you want better dental care or whatever, you pay for that. You pay additional. And you do see that, you do get what you pay for, because a lot of things here, if you go like the National Health Service, you can be on a waiting list for, like the other day, my wife's grand, they phoned an ambulance, 4.5 hours they were waiting. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
it wasn't anything
If you
serious.
if you need an ambulance, 4.5 hours ain't gonna do it.
Exactly. But that's the National Health Service, because they're
Yeah.
overrun. They're it's underpaid.
But here's the flip side, Nick. Here they call Uber because they don't want to pay for how expensive the damn ambulance is. So, like, really, we could all say this stuff, but like, I fought for 4 months about one health bill I got from my physical therapist. And then like literally had to call my insurance, told them everything. My insurance calls them, and after the lady that from the physical therapist, like, nope, you owe us this money. My health insurance tells them like, hey, no, they paid that. And the lady calls me back immediately. She's like, oh yeah, no, you're fine. I made a mistake. I'm like how,
Right.
like
4
the
months.
amount that they're just charging, and they just hope that it seeps under the thing. Like money wise, it's ridiculous.
No,
Yeah. Well, with all that said, and welcome, Mishak. How are you?
Good. How are y'all doing? Back from traveling around.
No hat today. No hat.
No hat.
I've got the hat on today, and you don't. You usually want the stylish hat, and I've got the plain one today. So good to see you, man.
I need to get that Freightways hat that I won. I don't know if you guys saw that from the last Freightways.
You won a Freightways hat. Well, congratulations. Yeah. What kind of hat is it? Is it a ball cap? Is it a?
I don't even know.
Hat? What are they giving you?
I think it was a ball cap. I think it was probably a Freightways like ball cap, but they just kind of had muttered about, oh, you won this thing, and I was like, all right. I don't know what it is.
Great, send it up. Very cool. All right. Well, let's transition since we're talking about COVID. We're going to talk a little about the vaccine again, because it's back in the news, as you guys know. The FDA approved the Pfizer. Is that correct? Did I get that right? Okay. Yep. So that one got full approval now.
The one and done.
So that one's full approval. The others have not quite gotten there yet. So we're going to take a little poll real quick. So go ahead and do that while we're listening to what are we listening to? We're listening to Africa by Weezer. A lot of Weezer today. I don't know what the deal is. Getting a lot of Weezer. But this is kind of an old classic brought back to life. Who did the original Africa song? The 80s version. Somebody knows it. Mishak, you know this. Somebody knows it. Where's Justin Shepard when we need him?
Was it Asia?
We all have Google.
They did Africa? That'd be pretty ironic if a band called Asia did Africa. Maybe. It's possible.
Toto.
Hopefully I'm not a Toto.
I knew it was some really short name that I never knew what the band was, like Asia never really knew much what they did.
Yeah, a lot of remakes. What's fun is watching Trolls with my kids, and they're like, this music is so great. And I'm like, it's all old. It's all redone. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, we grew up with these songs. Like, no way. Like, they're so disappointed at their remakes. But
So I'm seeing on here you're asking about vaccination and sporting events. That's already been going into place here in Pittsburgh. A lot of people that have concerts scheduled to go to, they're now getting messaged and told that if they don't have proof of vaccination, they're not allowed in.
Boston College did the same thing. Said if you're not vaxxed, you can't come in.
Yeah. There was an update today that said that for some concert here in St. Louis, in order to attend, I think it's for the Jonas Brothers, actually. If you want to attend, you have to show that you've been vaccinated or have a negative test for COVID.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it all just comes down to economics. Eventually, like all these restaurants that keep having to close every 2 weeks or 1 month, it's untenable. And like for these bigger events, like just the liability that they're carrying, or the fact that a lot of people are going to be concerned about going, it's just all economics at this point. People are just looking at the numbers, I think.
Some of it for sure. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But what's interesting to me is I didn't put this as a question, but I'm thinking about this because, some people are real followers and some people are real evaluators. I'm more of a real evaluator, for those of you who know me well. But I'm thinking about things like this. Fake IDs for driver's license and state IDs is a real thing. Is it going to become an issue with vaccine passports and IDs? I mean, all I saw was a laminated card. Or are they going to have a database? Is this going to be, we'll talk about it in a minute. Is this going to become more official in nature and a part of the system and, all that? I mean, it's going to be real interesting. And is it going to start encompassing all vaccines? Because you never have to prove this before to go anywhere, but now we do. But the same thing would be true for polio or measles or other vaccines that we take, tetanus shots, things like that. But we never have to prove that when we go to a concert or, whatever, go to a junkyard and deal with metal and scrap and all that kind of stuff. Like it's not a part of the culture. So it'll be real fascinating. So let's go ahead and close the poll and chat about it a little bit here. Everybody done?
I was trying to find that Trey. I've got a vaccine passport from like what 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean the schools have been asking you to show proof forever.
Yeah, so like,
but it's like a bunch of documents or like a medical document.
So it literally looks the same as a passport, but my one is yellow, and then it says like so. For example, when you travel to China, like when I used to work in China, it had like you can't enter without it. It needs to state okay, like because it's a high risk for certain like diseases, you need to have certain vaccines. So like I always, no matter where I travel to, I always have that passport with me. It has the stamps,
especially
the legal stamps of the
exactly. So it's going to be a question of like how broad use is going to be, because like you said, if you go to Africa, certain countries, you have to provide proof of shots that you've taken, whatever, going over there, things like that. But how deep is this going to get entrenched into daily life? I mean, how much is going to become a part of it? And as a result, how much is the black market of fake passports going to play a role? And is there going to be a way to catch that? Like right now, you can, if a company has it or whatever, they can scan your ID because it has a code on the back now. Your driver's, at least mine does, and they can actually pull information off of that. Where in the past it was just the ID. Is that going to become that with passports where they're going to have to scan or something to prove it, like to make sure it's not fraudulent and things like that? I'm just curious about that before we get into it.
Has it not been in the US the same? Here in the UK, there's been it's been going on for years where they want to have your medical record for employers, but like that's just caused a massive storm, because like you can't, if someone has like a an illness that's uncurable, then
you see it, you can't unsee it.
Exactly.
Right?
Sorry,
and it might impact your hiring or something like that. So it's really kind of interesting. All right, let's run through. Yeah, Misha, go ahead.
In the film industry, you have to provide all that information for bonding. So bonding agents basically kind of know everybody's infections in Hollywood. Like
that can be dangerous.
That's interesting.
That is interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah. And
all right, let's run through this real
one
quick.
infection most of them have. Let's just
I can imagine. We'll leave it at that.
If
All right, question one: are you fully vaccinated?
Fake vaccination card. If you're caught with a fake vaccination card, you could face up to 5 years in prison or a $5,000 fine.
I'll pay the fine. Just saying.
All right, so we know where Raquel stands on this. All right, so
there was a guy arrested in Chicagoland for selling them fake vaccination cards for like $10 a piece, and it's like, if you're gonna do that, maybe increase if the risk is there, increase your cost a little.
But is he selling with like this? Like, is he just photocopy one and just laminated them all? They're all the same numbers, same everything. I mean, I think you need to be more sophisticated than that to try to get away with that. But
the guy obviously wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. So.
Clearly, might not have been. Yeah, this might not have been the best business venture.
You want to hear a little bit of something that's interesting?
Please.
I received no vaccinations whatsoever until I was in my 20s.
Really?
My parents were really against it when I was a kid, and my mom was for the longest time, and then kind of I don't know, she's somewhere in the middle. But my father, who's one of the leading complementary doctors in Australia, he did just tons of research over decades, and now he's like, no question, vaccines are safe. There's always little outliers, but there's except for some. Yeah. Maybe some really rare disease you get a rare vaccine for that nobody knows about. Like he's like, he gets them all now.
And yet you survived 20 years without a vaccine.
Well, yeah, but back then, anything that you could catch, everybody else, there was more than enough people that were vaccinated because of federal mandates. And I actually had to I forgot what it was called, but it was like, there was exceptions for like religious beliefs or whatever belief. And that's what they had to do every time I would go to a school. But it didn't matter because there was such a low percentage of people that were doing that.
Nobody's mentioned that when it comes to vaccine mandates yet, religious exceptions, but we'll see what happens with that. Okay, so question one, are you fully vaccinated? We're split here in the crowd. 3 are, 4 are not, 1 abstained. So interesting. I think this is going to be somewhat reflective of culture a little bit. I think we're what, 53% as a country? Do we know what the current vaccination rate is?
Yeah, I think it's just over 50 in the US, and then some states like Minnesota where I'm at, I'm vaccinated, and I didn't get in here, so I would have knocked it up.
No worries.
But in Minnesota, I think it's like 60 something full vaccination. It's getting pretty high.
Yeah, Vermont is like 70 something percent, maybe higher.
I bet we're at like 12.
South Dakota is probably at 12. Oh, Meshach, you missed a fun conversation at the very beginning about South Dakota. Pretty close to Minnesota, not far from where you are. All right, so question 2, does your employer require you to be vaccinated to remain employed? Not yet. So there's 7 of you. It's just no, not yet, although that is coming down the pipeline quickly, especially in the healthcare industry and possibly education. Some school districts are requiring things like that. So coming down the pipeline. Question, which businesses will require vaccination in order to be a patron? And this is a multiple choice. So most of you think airlines, indoor sporting events, concerts, outdoor sporting events, cruise ships, 100%, public transportation, only 2, resorts and hotels, only 1, and other, only 1. See, it's interesting because why would you not put resorts and hotels up higher when you're putting cruise ships and concerts up higher? Like,
I'll say
those seems like pretty much the same thing. Yeah,
well, the cruise ships, when all of this started, how many people remember hearing about a specific hotel that they had a COVID thing at, right? No. Everybody remembers the ships that were docked at the port, that the people were basically being, held on there and they couldn't leave. And so I think because of that, regardless of what it should be or shouldn't be, there's going to be that, hey, we've got a CYA, PR, whatever, and they're going to require, a lot of the cruise ships will require it.
Right. But have you been to a resort or on a pool? I mean, there's people everywhere, they're in close proximity. They're in restaurants.
But nobody's been held.
A resort is just a resort is a cruise ship on ground for the most part. I mean, you can go out to dinner and come back. I mean, just like get into a port. I mean, there's not a ton of difference and things like that.
Nobody's been kept at a pool for however many weeks and unable to go home because of COVID, though.
Right. But you would think a cruise ship has more capacity to contain it than a resort where you can leave and come back and leave and come back, because a cruise could not dock. If everybody comes in and they're not, infected, then nobody should get infected on the ship if they don't leave. Right. Like you would think a cruise ship would have more control potentially over something like that, especially if they decide maybe not to dock certain places, because we just like to cruise. We don't even care about the ports. But at a resort, you can go in and out all the time.
Wouldn't that be why
they want to go different places?
Wouldn't that be why the cruise ships want to 100% be vaccinated? Like,
I would say
controlling like who's coming on the ship, and because they can control it a little bit more.
Right.
But if you have proof that you're not positive, then it's the same effect on a cruise ship,
which I think
together.
I think that's sort of the same. Like either proof
they're not going to do that.
You were negative in 52 hours.
Right now, it's 100% vaccinated. Yeah. So right now, it's not proof of negative on that. But I'm just saying that I think there's some similarities there, and I think that for this to really go over well, there has to be some consistency. I think that's been one of the problems, is the lack of consistency across the board. But it's going to be tough to get that. And then one of you chose other. What am I forgetting here on this list?
I chose other because I figured there's got to be something else out there that's going to require you to get vaccinated. I don't know.
Yeah. I was trying to think of what that might be.
I know, maybe.
Yeah, I figured this was more business oriented, like to be a patron. Yeah, this was more for businesses than anything else. Okay, question 4: who will be required to be vaccinated? Government workers, most all of you think yes on that. Student and teachers, about half. Certain employees, 5 to 7, and then only 1 of you thinks that everyone's going to be required to be vaccinated. Which again, this goes into, are they going to give exceptions for religious, convictions? Are they going to have exceptions for medical history? Maybe people who are, not going to be able to do as well with vaccines because of their immune system or something like that. I don't know. We'll have to see how this plays out. But I can tell you this: they did not wait a second once that FDA thing was approved to start talking about mask mandates and stuff like that. So I have a feeling it's coming down the pipeline. We'll see what happens in South Dakota with those Mavericks up there. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Last question 5: will vaccination cards become required, and will it be connected to your ID? So I think if they want it to be consistent, they should connect with your ID. That would be the easiest way to do it. But there could be reasons for that. So 4 of you say will not be required at all. Two of you say will become required, but separate from your IDs. Only one of you thinks that it's going to be attached to your ID. I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens with that.
That's a state level thing. So this, I mean, the Greatest Generation, they did the same thing. They mandated the vaccine for the smallpox. So I imagine we'll just do the same thing, but it will be federal level, not state level.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's where we are? Because it's like we are in the unknown. There's so many vaccines we take without even questioning it when we're younger or whatever, because like generations before us have gone through this. This is not a first in a sense, is it? It's the unknown, I think. It's like
the only first is we have the internet now. Like we're globally connected.
That's right. We have social media. We have everybody has an
ways
opinion.
to like go
we
in
have
there.
information that we don't know if it's true or false. We have all kinds of different things.
That's something I didn't think about too, Meshach. You have in Minnesota the Real ID thing, right? So each state has a different recognizable identification. So some are not federally recognized even.
I think it's coming, the Real ID.
And how many people are not on the grid as it is? They don't have an ID. They don't have, they don't pay taxes.
Call it South Dakota.
How many people are in South Dakota? How many people are not even on the grid who aren't going to want to get on the grid because they don't trust the government or they don't, whatever it might be. I was telling my wife this morning, looking back on 18 months, I don't think that they, as the government and as authorities, couldn't have messed this up worse. I really don't. I mean, you think about how political it is, how divisive it is, how controversial it is. There's definitely a different way that this could have been handled. I think you would have gotten a better outcome. Even with a change of president in the middle, I think you could have done a better job of getting a better outcome. I mean, think about this. There are ample videos of Democrats saying there's no way we're taking this vaccine. We're not taking Trump's vaccine. Like they were spewing that in there, right? And then Biden got in and now the Trump people are spewing that, right? What would have brought everybody together on this in the best way possible? I mean, I think I'm just thinking about this.
That's a tough one.
I mean, it is a tough one, but that's what we saw both. We saw both of them saying the same thing against the other party. Both.
Yeah, I think statistically speaking, I think that the disinformation and misinformation campaigns were definitely targeting more conservative audience. I saw a lot of.
It's possible, but Meshach, listen. Joe Biden said there's no way people are going to take the vaccine. Kamala Harris said she will not take it. She doesn't trust the government.
The narrative.
These are on video. That's what they were saying, right? So you see that, right? That negative, and then it switches parties and it goes the other way. And now it's become political and divisive. I just think this could not have been like worse in terms of how they rolled it out, And who do people not trust? They don't trust the government. And so what are they doing? The government is the one that's telling people they have to do it. I just looking back, like understand human psyche for a minute. If you tell people they have to do something, half the population is not going to do it just because they're being told they have to. Like I think there's different ways that this could have been handled. And I just wish it would have gone a lot better, because now it's very difficult to recover.
It's so hard though.
I really agree. I'm sorry, guys, I've got to drop.
No, Megan, good to see you.
Yeah, and I hope I can make it again next week.
Absolutely. Please come back. Good to see you.
Definitely. Bye, guys.
All right, Meshach, keep going.
These days, though. I was just saying, conservative and liberal, Democrat and Republican, and anybody who, there's, like Kyle was saying, the internet has kind of changed a lot of this stuff, especially with the filter bubbles and the algorithms and how poorly designed they are. Very specifically, there are quite a few governments that are spending a lot of money dividing people and sending disinformation campaigns and misinformation campaigns to kind of feed into this on both sides.
Oh, no doubt. Echo chambers are terrible. I mean, it's only making it worse.
There's so many liberal people I know that talk about how they're not going to put a vaccine in their body, but then they're taking all of these like supplements and tinctures and vitamins and
just the crap we eat.
Yeah. And it's just, it's like, you just like, and that I see the same thing. I see that there's all these campaigns that are targeting them. And I think that one's actually growing faster, where I see like more conservatives, they're kind of pulling back and they're pushing more vaccinations now. So they're kind of, I think they're changing roles.
It's interesting. It's just really, really fascinating. But I think the polarization of our country on any issue now becomes a divide just on political lines. It's really, really unfortunate. Okay, so I'd love to keep having this conversation. This is a great conversation, but I want to real quick get to This Week in Pictures as we end here. So don't leave yet if you can stay, because we got a couple of good ones and then we're going to head out. So, and then next week we can pick this up again, because I'm sure this will still be in the news come next week.
You think?
I'd be shocked if it wasn't. All right. So real quick, Kyle, what's going on in this picture here, man? Talk to us.
As you can tell, my daughter's basically ready to be signed up for swim lessons any day now. Actually, I taught swim lessons growing up, so I've been teaching her. And it's a live photo, so this screenshot's the weirdest because it looks like horrible, but she's actually really good. So we were camping up in New Hampshire over the weekend. That's why I missed it. And she was having a blast in the lake. It was hot.
Looks like she just took in a bunch of water and about to call
good.
Child
She gets her
Protective
face
Services
wet.
on you. That's what this is.
You can see her face is soaking wet. She's fine. She's learned to stop swallowing the water. I'm trying to get her to float on her back and blow bubbles are the two things. She can grab on the side if we're in a pool, but the season's over now up here.
Teach those things and kids are usually pretty good. Yeah, you teach those things and the kids are pretty good in terms of swimming, which is cool. Well, that's awesome. And I look forward to seeing more pictures like that. That's pretty cool. Love the backdrop too. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, a couple of just personal pictures. So I was down in Columbia last week and they gave me a welcome bag. And in the welcome bag was this right here. One, you know what this is, right? Yeah, it's good. It's like a sugary coffee, chocolate, caramel dipping sauce. Like if you had like a cinnamon stick from Pizza Hut, that would be something to put it on like that, or maybe some toast. But we've decided that it's good, but we had to put it away because we're trying to lose weight right now. We're actually trying to get in shape. I got a race to run in September. So this is put off to the side, but we did have just a little taste to see if we liked it. And it was really, really good. So if you're interested in something like that,
do you have
it looks like
tray?
It looks like, listen, I don't want my bones to hurt my joints, my knees. Listen, I'm going to run. I don't want that to happen. I know that it may not look like I'm carrying extra weight, but I am. Like if you look at the BMI chart, if you look at anything like that, I'm not even close. I weigh 180 pounds, y'all, at 5'8", 180, and I'm not that strong anymore. All right. So I'm getting there. But anyways, so we'll definitely pick that up later on. It looks like a K-cup. Do not put it in the K-cup machine. That will not go well for you if you do that. But anyways, pretty cool. Got to have lunch with some of our people down in Barranquilla. This is a great group. But look at this guy right here, Lewis. He looks like he's about to slay somebody. It's like he's about to kill somebody. And it's pretty funny. He's a sales guy. He works out a lot. I had to make fun of him for that. But really cool. Got to have some great food down there in a restaurant. Pretty cool. I had pesto pasta. The green looks like mud pasta. It was actually pretty good with a piece of salmon. So really, really, really tasty. Also got to go to Teriyaki Komodo. Very good sushi restaurant. Check it out. Loving that. Had a really good time with a couple of the guys, Freddie and Lewis, and Freddie, my boy Freddie, and Yanni. They're expecting. So pretty cool. It was a fun. That was a bad picture too because he was moving. What else? Oh yeah. So last week at church, this is how guys think. I thought I put this in there for a reason. This is my friend Mark. We were talking at church, right? And some lady comes by and she goes, "Oh, Team Salmon." And we kind of looked around like, "Oh my goch, we're the same shirt on." Like I didn't even know what color shirt I had on. He didn't know what color shirt he had on. We weren't registering, but we looked exactly the same. So I thought that was pretty funny a moment there. And then finally, our two brand ambassadors, Camila Villegas and Jared Wolf, got paired together for the first two rounds of this week's Nationwide Children's Health Championship in Columbus, Ohio. And so, of course, we had to get a picture of them with the Lean logos on. So you can see Lean on his, Lean on his. So pretty cool that they both got paired together. I was really sad that I wasn't there to see it, but it was pretty neat. And then, of course, guys, I'm going to leave you with this. Damn, it feels good to be a gangster. Hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for joining Word on the Street, powered by Lean Solutions Group. We'll see you back here next Friday. You guys have a good one. We'll talk soon.
Good to see you all.
Adios.
Hey guys.